We have a great show going on tonight. We have a special guest that will be joining us and driving with us. We're going to be talking a lot of good nerd stuff. I won't introduce the guest just yet because I want to save some, stuff for the show itself. Yeah, some mystery. Man, we're going to be talking movies. We're talking D&D. We're talking space. We're going gambit today, guys. So good show to join tonight. Make sure you tell your friends. Welcome, all you geek enthusiasts and nerd aficionados. Masonic Vader here with the All Things Nerd Podcast, Season 4, Episode 18, because I wrote it down on the paper and I swear I was going to get it right at least one time.
Good
so I did it. Man. Thank you. Cheers to me. All right. We have a wonderful show tonight, guys. We got a lot of great cast. You can see everyone's taking that cheers. We're going to be doing some more here in a second. We're going to go back to our normal format here, where we're going to start off with our intros and to get your geek on.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
So tonight we have a great cast. Like I said, we're going to start off by introducing Mr. Bearded Master, who has been gone for slightly a long time. It was all my fault. How you doing, sir? What's going on?
I can respect a man who takes ownership and things like that. So, Ken, cheers to you, brother. Cheers to you.
Cheers to you, sir.
I'm doing well, actually. It's been a great freaking week. Probably the best week ever. I love it. Fantastic. Not too much to complain about. What I have been geeking out on, I'm not going to lie, last couple of days, totally been having I Love Lucy playing in the background while I've been studying for midterm all week long. Kind of got irritated because Hulu has them all backwards and has episodes missing. What the hell's wrong with that? But I did just binge the entire series of Community over the last week, which is going to be brought up in a little bit with some topics we have today. But I don't know why I took so long to watch it because holy hell, fantastic.
So nerdy and perfect.
Yeah, that's just a good week, sir. That's taking full advantage of the pandemic, sir. Good job. Cheers to you, sir. Cheers to you. Joining us also tonight, coming back for the second time around. She did not run off yet. She is back. Elle, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for coming back and joining us. Please don't let any boogeyman or clowns come out of that back door there. That's right behind you. What have you been geeking out on?
Oh, man. Lots of Netflix. So much Netflix. So I started watching Lucifer. I think IC, you talked about it last time. Somebody.
Yes.
Oh, man. Oh, it's cute. It's cute. I'll give it that. It's cute.
It gets better over time.
I finished all 4 seasons, man. I have no life right now. Well, a second one's okay. So Netflix picked it up, and they only have 4 seasons out. So finish that, and then the one thing that you shouldn't probably watch during quarantine, the miniseries Waco, also on Netflix. Oh my god, great show! It was done very well. It's a shit show of an event because it also happened like the year I was born. So I'm like, oh man, I never knew about this. But yeah, it has like half the cast of Boardwalk Empire in it. And
Sam Rockwell was awesome.
Huh?
Sam Rockwell was awesome in that movie.
Yeah, and Melissa Benoist is in it too.
He's ever been in. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that great show. Just as far as like mental and emotional state in quarantine, probably not the best thing to watch. But it was good.
I think
if
that's
you're locked down. You don't want to watch stuff about people being locked down and then dying.
Either that, or it's like here's that show, and then you don't want to step down the Outbreak because I know that's also on Netflix. Don't go there.
Oof, no, not there yet.
And of course, joining us again this week is Mr. IC Zorro. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I leave the house once a week and get to stretch my legs just a little bit. You know, I put on pants on Fridays and go replenish my LaCroix sparkling water. Not a sponsor. They should be. I love that stuff. I have been watching Ray Donovan, weirdly. I've gone through about 3.5 seasons of Ray Donovan this week. It's a show that I always kind of wanted to watch. Like, I enjoyed the first season or two, but then I was like, I don't really feel the need to watch this on a weekly basis. So I just saved it all up. And I'm currently up through the middle of season 6, and I can't wait to watch the rest of it. Liev Schreiber is friggin' amazing with so few words.
He's definitely got his shows and his movies. I won't necessarily say Sabretooth, but he's got some shows and movies out there.
I can't help but see him as Sabretooth even after watching like 6 seasons of Ray Donovan now.
Totally forgot about that, didn't you? Yeah. I brought it back for your enjoyment.
He growed a beard at one point, and I was like, oh, he's missing you got to take the chin part off and then get the teeth longer. No,
trim his nails, not. All right. And, now before I introduce our next guest, I want to just get into my stuff really quick. I've had a great nerd week. 2 things have happened to me this week that I'm excited about. First of all, just before getting on the pre-show and the cast, I was able to watch episode 11, I think it is, of Clone Wars. Holy crap balls. If you have not watched season 7, you need to watch it. You can watch the rest if you want, but man, season 7, the final season, is phenomenal. And I'm not going to say anything, but I will tell you it links a lot of different shows. All I got of different movies.
Darth Maul. That's all. Darth Maul.
Oh man, have you watched tonight's?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Darth Maul. That's all I'm saying. Darth Maul.
It's everything, guys. They have put a little of everything. Even Rogue One is somehow in there. So you guys need to watch that. The other thing I've been doing is, something's finally pulled me away from that Fortnite pool, whatever the hell it was. I still play it, but now I got a game that's actually just stripped me away from it, and it's called Stranded Deep. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it was released in 2015 on PC, and I want to say Xbox. I don't think Nintendo, and it definitely wasn't PlayStation. I heard about this in 2015, was bummed I couldn't play it. It's one of those simulator games, because I like those types of games where you're put in a plane, it crashes straight Tom Hanks and Castaway, and you're stranded on a deserted island, and all you have to do is survive. And you don't have nothing to start off with other than a raft and some rations. And you get to go island hopping. You have to create stuff. They make it really simple too, to where you only have to choose certain things: man, woman, this, that, and that's it. And then you start your thing, and it's how long you can survive or escape. It's an awesome game. It's now on PS4, so if you have that, it's $20. It's well worth the pandemic money to spend on, because it's on PS4 now. Yep. Buy it, download it, play it. Stranded Deep. Enjoy it. So that's my Geek Out Week. Now, for our last cast member tonight, we are borrowing him from another cast called the Nerdlife Crisis. You've probably heard of it. You've probably listened to it. I have actually listened to some of them recently, and I'm actually going to be listening to them on a weekly basis from this point forward. Joining us tonight is Mr. Ron Milts. Ron, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm great. I'm really good. Excited to be here. I've been a friend of West and a fan of the All Things Nerd podcast for a while. I've done many a Line H or Hall H line with West at Comic-Con over the last couple years. It's been at least like 6 or 7 years. And he's been trying to get me to come on the show forever. And now, due to a pandemic and nothing but free time, I am able to do something on a Friday night that doesn't involve work. So it's fantastic. I'm excited to be here.
See the positive. So you got to think positive, people.
Yeah.
Game time, other stuff like that. What are you geeking out on this week, sir?
Well, I have a 7, now 8-year-old who had a birthday on Monday. So his mom has instituted the birthday week concept at our house. So we have watched Star Wars pretty much nonstop since Monday. But in a weird... Yeah, we watched episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, and episode 6. So we didn't watch any of the new ones or Empire Strikes Back, which I found odd. But and I don't mean
Empire.
It's his choice. He's 8. That's what he wanted to watch. So, but he is a small hipster 8-year-old. So we have been listening to the Empire Strikes Back score on vinyl all week long. So specifically side B of record 2, which is his favorite because it has the Cloud City theme and the closing number on it. So, and I mean, on repeat as only a child could. So, but that and we have been, my wife and I, since this all started, we decided to do a West Wing watch. So we're now on season 6, episode 12 of our rewatch of West Wing.
Jimmy Smith's in there now, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. My wife's very excited to see the first Hispanic president in the history of the world, you know. But it's of the world, of the United States, I should say. But yeah, I mean, we're enjoying our nerddom, as it were. Everybody moves to their own room in my house to have their nerd moments. So in the morning, my son watches Captain Underpants, and I get an hour of Civ 5 in. And then my wife is watching Gilmore Girls all at the same time. And then we coalesce for breakfast. Everybody discusses their nerddom, and then we all go to our own rooms, you know. So they have class, and I have literally nothing to do but edit podcasts. So it's a great time.
Holy crap! Can you imagine being at that breakfast table? You have Gilmore Girl talk going with Captain Underpants, go with Civ 5. Oh my god, dude!
It's like having this podcast if Super was just into her stuff and Jack was just into his stuff and Marty was just into his stuff, and that's a breakfast table.
Brilliant. You need a mediator for that.
Sounds fantastic.
Do you remember the episode when Captain Underpants was on Gilmore Girls? It was awesome.
Well, the problem is my wife comes in after watching Gilmore Girls and she talks way too fast because, you know, that's how everybody talks on that show. So she walks in and she's like, oh my God, I just wanted to let you know I went outside and I saw the sun. Did you see the sun? The sun's wonderful. It's warm and I love warm things. Warm things are exciting and I like being warm. You know, I like being warm because of food. You know what? Great food. And it's like
channeling Lauren Graham.
Yeah.
Is she watching the Gilmore Girls, like the original series, or is she watching like the Netflix special that was on?
Oh, yes. All of it. Yeah, start to finish. Like, let me put it to you this way. Gilmore Girls has been on so much at my house over the last decade. I have actually never. Yeah, I've never sat down and been like, let's watch Gilmore Girls. But I know the names of every characters and have watched some episodes multiple times. So yeah, very exciting.
When she starts going off on a ramble, you need to sit there and hold your hand up like this, and then you gotta go like this, and then like this, start doing hand signals, bring the troops in, try to take them out, you know? Take him out of here. I don't want to talk anymore.
Well, the best thing about Gilmore Girls is it got my wife into the MCU because that's what got her to watch Guardians of the Galaxy. So, and then she's like, you know, these movies are not bad. And I'm like, see, I told you not everything nerd is terrible.
Wait,
so
I've never actually seen Gilmore Girls. What's the crossover between them and Guardians?
What's his face's brother that's one of the Reavers in that was on Gilmore Girls the entire run.
Gunn.
The dude that took over for Yondu.
Yeah. James Gunn's brother.
James Gunn's on it the entire time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he's actually quite delightful, I have to be honest.
He's a good actor from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Rob Milts is here once again from the Nerdlife Crisis. We want you guys to throw some questions in there. So if you can, please, if you're live on Twitch, throw some questions in that we could ask Ron for you guys here. I did have a question for you, Ron. In one of the episodes I listened to, I got to ask you, how's that hill looking? How's your son's labor doing?
Well, he's been up on the hill. He's been singing spirituals and hymnals up there. I heard him being like, that's the sound of the men. Mm-hmm. Like he was, you know, if you're familiar with that Charlie Sheen movie where they're like, ooh, ooh. So anyways, but I will tell you, like that kid managed to weed the entirety of that back hill. There's nary a weed growing on it at this point. And in fact, it's like all in preparation for what I'm starting to call Rontopia in the backyard. So I've been borrowing pallets from Home Depot and Lowe's every day. And I'm building like a deck back there so I can hang out and drink beer and look at, you know, over my property like a proper redneck should, you know?
Yeah. So I was interested in that one because I have a 10-year-old myself, and he has been caught with the lie and the double lie. He's actually been caught with a little bit of extracurricular activity as far as the fisticuffs. And so he's been banished, and I heard that segment. I just automatically clicked to it. Now, the only thing I want you to look out for, and I'm sure you could probably, you know, go with me on this. If you see a dirt mound, slightly small, kind of probably about this big, and it looks pretty fresh, you might want to check that before you lay anything else down, because I'm sure that's where he's stuffing the ice cream and the cookie wrappers. All right, man. So you got to watch out for that stuff.
Well, the funny thing is from my office is on the second story. I can see the hill, so that's how I kept an eye on him. And every so often, I'd peek out to see what he was up to. And I looked out the other day when he got to his last day, and he kind of looks and sees to see if anyone's watching him, which he doesn't see me. And then he turns around, and it's perfectly shot from the back. And I watch him pull down his pants and pee on a bug on top of the hill. So.
See, I had a magnifying glass. I didn't pee on it.
Well, it just was one of those things where, I'm not like, well, what? He's not. No. And then you see the perfect stream, like the Calvin stream coming from behind. So
just silhouetted.
Yeah.
I think it was episode 123. So if you guys go to watch it or listen to it, please listen to that one. You'll totally get his son. Sounds like a cool kid, but has a problem with the truth serum right now. And but like I've always said, having kids is the best way to have free manual labor for the first 17 years of your life with them. It's
absolutely.
So as you say, he's a cool kid. Sounds like he's a cookie monster, though.
A little bit. I mean, we
can't be selling those sugar cookies, man. Those things a lot.
Well, for those that don't listen, we do a regular, like, we're all dads at 40, and we, so we talk about like what it's like to be a nerd at 40, and one of the things we do is from day like one. We wanted to like talk about like, hey, we have kids and we're raising a new generation of nerds, as it were. So we do a regular segment on the show called like dumb shit our kids did this week, and it's like, you'd be surprised over 7 years how many great stories you get and you probably forget about. But they're immortalized in a podcast. So as my child gets older, I can go back to the podcast. Exactly. Right.
Two questions for you real quick.
Sure.
What was the absolute first thing you're like, I have to, like, this is the first nerd thing I'm going to definitely teach him or talk to him about? And what has been the favorite nerd topic you guys have discussed?
I think it's two things. I mean, you can see I'm a Star Wars fan and a Kevin Smith fan. So he's not ready for Kevin Smith, but he's definitely ready for Star Wars. So I introduced Star Wars to him like when he was like first born. It's got its ups and downs because you forget at like 4 that his favorite movie is going to be The Phantom Menace, which we then watched for a year straight. And Misa no want to watch that all the time on loop. It was pretty much that or Cars. And so,
He's don't know what you're talking about.
So
I'd rather listen to Owen Wilson than Jar Jar Binks.
Wow.
Wow. And I think the neatest thing is, as a nerd, my wife is not a nerd in the same way I'm a nerd, but she loves Harry Potter. So we bought, like, have you seen, they've got the Harry Potter picture books yet? Where it's like the entire book, but it's like, and they're like $45 for this book. But it's like, I bought the first one so they could do it as their nighttime reading when he was 4. And pretty much every year since he was 4, a new one's come out and they've read all the way through them. So now they're on the Goblet of Fire. He's only seen the movies that he's read the books for, because I don't want to spoil it for him, but yeah, so it's kind of neat at 7 now, just turning 8, that I can be like, yeah, my 8-year-old's read the first 3 Harry Potter books all the way through. It does have its ups and downs. We did when he completed the first book, we took him to Universal Studios, to Hogwarts, to see, it's like, hey man, it's like the village and we can do the wand. The downside is when we walked into the park, we came around the corner into Hogsmeade Village and he saw the train and immediately started crying because he thought we were dropping him off to go to Hogwarts.
Was it crying of excitement or crying of terror?
Oh no,
because I would have been crying of excitement. Like, where's my golden ticket?
No, he was like, Daddy, I don't want to go. We were like, no, dude, no.
That's when that's the perfect moment to like, no, you're not 11 years old yet. You got a few years to go.
Yeah.
He'd be thinking about that for the next like multi-years, and he's like, oh crap, I'm 11. I know where mom and dad's shipping me off to.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
If you're not good, you'll be in Slytherin.
Can I ask real quick? Ron, you were talking a little bit about how with all your free time, all you have to do is podcast editing. I know you. I've listened to the Nerdlife Crisis for about a year or so. I believe Wes is the one that put me onto it. But you have other podcasts as well, right?
Yeah, so we literally like 2 months ago decided before this all started that we wanted to take the mothership show and launch it into a network. So what we've been doing is looking at that concept like you guys do of doing seasons, except we're not going to do topical discussions on the new shows. It's going to be more about interviews and story-based stuff, which is seems to be some of the most popular stuff on the Nerdlife Crisis podcast, is each of us talking about our own personal lives. So we launched a show about 6 weeks ago, actually 5 weeks ago, because we just dropped our 5th episode called Fix It in the Mix. So one of my partners on the show, Chris Thayer, is a musician, a blues man by trade. He did like alt rock in the early 90s, had play on like X103.9 and like 96.7 and 95.5, like the local stations. And he decided to start talking to musicians and other people in the industry about what it's like to really be a musician. So we're doing the first season of that's 12 episodes. So we're about 5 episodes in, 7 more to go. We have another show coming on. It's called Fix It in the Mix. So,
okay.
Yeah,
that sounds like something that would really pick up traction. Like somebody that is a musician talking to well-known musicians.
Yeah, I mean, it's like mid-level guys is mostly what he's aiming for, and then he's looking to get into discussions with people that are tertiary to the music industry as well. So like they had an episode with an NPR host who does All Things Considered, and like because he interviews a lot of musicians, had him on to talk to the music business. Talking to the guy, a guy who played with Fishbones and Skeletones. Just like looking for that sort of level guy. We're not looking to talk to Bono, although that'd be great, don't get me wrong. But like this idea of like, what's it really like to be in the music business and the reality, because I think there's a misconception of what it means to be a musician or an actor or anything like that. Which is kind of leading me into our next podcast we have coming out the 1st of June called My Life as a Podcast. And the concept of that is I'll be interviewing and already have essentially interviewed a group of people that do all sorts of different things. So like, for instance, I interviewed a DEA agent. I interviewed a Shakespearean rapper. I interviewed a Jim Henson puppeteer. So it was sort of that idea of getting into normal people's lives that you're like, I'm always curious, what's it like to be that person and to jump into their life for 45 minutes and go, tell me about your life, tell me how you got there, and tell me what it's like to do what you do now.
In the chat room really quick, HJ Zgrok has joined us, and he wanted to throw a shout out to say hi to welcome to Ron. He's also a huge fan of Chris Thayer since Grease in high school.
Oh, wow. I'll have to let him know.
Yes.
I'm here representing the podcast tonight. But for those in the world that don't know, I'm also a comic book writer. So I write a book called Grace through IB Comics. And I actually co-wrote a graphic novel called Legba's Juke Joint. So they're both available out there in the world. If you go to ibcomics.com, you can find them there. And if you're into things like with murder, then that's what Grace is. It's sort of our take on the Ghost Rider Spawn concept. And then if you're a music fan, the graphic novel Legba's Juke Joint, it's the Robert. We piggyback on the Robert Johnson story and tell it over a 9-book series, saying what would a person be willing to sell their soul for in each decade,
right?
And the art style changes from book to book to reflect the decade it takes place in, So
well, on the IB Comics website, there's also 2 other books. Do you have anything to do with those?
I edit both of those books. So I'm the editor of the company as well. Yeah, so Rosalie's like our all ages book, and it's designed for kids that are beginning readers. So it's all written with sight words to reinforce what they're getting at school in that K through 2 level. The High School Defense Force is written by a gentleman named Joe Renoya. And it's basically the concept is like Breakfast Club meets Top Gun. So it's a lot. Yeah, it's very whimsical and fun. The first issue of that came out last year at San Diego Comic-Con. And the second issue was actually slated to come out at WonderCon, but due to things getting canceled. And then with the company, we have actually, because of the pandemic, everything's been delayed. But we have 3 more books that are coming out. We have a book called Handyman coming out. Handiworks, about a character named the Handyman. And he's a psychic hitman that works for the cartels. So think a little bit like Breaking Bad meets Supernatural meets John Wick. And then we have another book coming out called Blood, Guts, and Awesomeness that I'm writing. And it's think about the apocalypse happens, but it's not just one apocalypse. It's every apocalypse at the same time. So the apocalypses start to cancel each other out. So the art style on it is amazing. The artist, Gigi Rockets is her name. She's got this really fun, colorful, unique art style. That'll be coming out here soon. And then we have a meta superhero book called Hero coming out. That's essentially about a superhero who gets murdered by his arch nemesis in the first issue. And then everybody else in the book has nowhere else. They have no purpose in living. So they all move off to different comic books. And so every book after that, it's like anthology where each of the characters from the book, everybody from his sidekick to his butler, they all move off to different books, including the villain who goes on to host a children's TV show. So it's that one will be slated to come out originally December of this year, but it's going to be moved back to next year. So with the comic books, everything is shut down for the most part. We're down to online orders, which is like been trickling slowly downwards as people don't have money, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the only good news is with the sponsorship with the podcast that we put together. So that, that's a little bit of money coming in for the next 6 months. But yeah, it's like,
I'm about to order some Grace because I just found the links to them. So
nice. Well, order a bunch of them if you.
If I have disposable income, yeah.
There you go. Copies for all your friends, right? But yeah, so we're. It's like one of those things where, it's the new world that we live in. So you just, my wife luckily is a teacher. But yeah, so we're, things are going fine though. I mean, we're as far as. I'm just bored. Like that's my biggest thing.
Well, yeah, so everything and all the cons getting canceled is just not helping.
I mean, allegedly our next one on the docket is ECC. Like they're supposed to be going up in August, but I mean, I don't see it.
I was actually going to come see you guys in Seattle, and then I got online to get tickets because I was going to be there at that time. And it got canceled like 15 minutes before I got online to get tickets.
Oh yeah. So so they're talking like they're going to do an August show, and then we've got like Phoenix is still scheduled and going up at in like the beginning of September, Salt Lake. So all these like latter half of the year shows. I mean, shit, like even New York is still thinking they're going to do New York Comic Con, and I'm like, okay. Like, I've always wanted to be in a Tomb Raider movie. That sounds great.
Does that mean you're going to wear the halter top and the short shorts?
Yeah. I mean,
guns.
I'm a little thick, but I think I can make it work.
That just means the holsters won't slide up on your thighs. It works.
Yeah, so I'm like a full B, so I think I'll make it look good, right? So
sexy, damn sexy.
You're gonna be your stunt double, huh?
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, but I mean, it's like I just think it's like this world we live in is going to be real interesting for about a year. But
that's the greatest insult from ancient Chinese philosophy. I'm serious.
May you live in interesting times. Yeah,
exactly. But I mean, at least you guys are like us, where you're out there putting out as much content as possible.
If that's what we call it, content, right?
It's content.
At least once a week, anyway.
So, once again, if you guys are joining us live here, we have Mr. Ron Milts from Nerdlife Crisis, podcaster, comic writer. As you could just hear, he's listening it out for all you people joining in the chat room. Elle, you look like you're on the cusp of asking a question. Please throw it out there.
Oh, no, man. So it kind of got off track, but I listened to your guys' last episode and you threw in the new segment of In Defense Of.
Yes.
And I love that because you talked about science. I think that's also one of those movies that like, I liked it. I liked your type of band theory, I guess, about it. I had to poke some holes in it myself. But do you guys think you'll like
please feel free to poke holes in science, because like the whole idea came from a listener who approached us about we have an ongoing argument on the podcast about the prequels. Like, it never ends. And Chris, who's on the show, absolutely. Yeah, it gets everywhere in your toes, and but the argument is it's always on the forefront. So a listener was like, I just want to do a podcast in defense of the prequels. And I'm like, well, I already got that. And from that, it triggered something in me. And then literally the next night, my wife and I were watching Signs, and she like started like crapping on it. And I was like, wait a minute. And it never occurred to me that she didn't understand that the aliens weren't in fact aliens. They were demons. She always thought they were aliens, and it didn't make sense. And I was like, it's a religious movie.
I had never heard that theory before, honestly.
It's not even a theory. It's like literally what M. Night like intended, and people never grabbed onto that concept, which I did not realize. And as you watch the movie, go back and rewatch it, because the idea is that it's not actually an alien invasion. Demons are invading, and that's the reason the holy water all over the house kills the demon when he throws it on it. So,
and that's the part that got me, because you're like, oh, his house is filled with holy water, which makes total sense.
Right.
But he found out, they're like, oh, he doesn't like water, because M. Night Shyamalan's cameo told him, he's like, I don't think they like water. If I recall that correctly.
You do.
He's like, I don't think they like water. It's like, that dude doesn't have holy water in his house. Like, that's not a common thing to just have holy water in your house. I'm like, I get it. That might be like the one thing that I'm just like,
I mean, that was one of the main things that made me hate that movie before. I was like, if they're allergic to water, why would they come to this planet that's covered in 70% water?
Well,
so if they're demons and it's holy water because he was a priest and blessed his whole house, that makes way more sense.
Well, and then not only that, but go back and rewatch it. You never see an alien spaceship in the movie, like at any point.
No,
like,
you don't.
It's always referenced through the Joaquin Phoenix character, and like he's talking about it. Yeah. So like so many of the ideas you have, I think, were wrapped around the concept that it's like at the time period, you're not going to sell a movie about a demon invasion. It's because, it just wouldn't work with natural great audiences. But aliens were like, I mean, it's the early 2000s or late 90s. I'm sorry, early 2000s. Like at that point, you had Independence Day and all these other alien films come out. Like, I mean, Jesus was never that popular, so it was like,
So your contention is that crop circles are actually demon uprising points?
Sure, why not? I didn't write the movie, but I think that it totally like lends itself to this concept. And that's what the In Defense Of segment came from, was this idea of going like, hey, let's have an argument about a movie that I think's good that everybody else thinks sucks. So on the newest episode we have coming out this Sunday, Chris brings up the movie Push, or as I like to call it, Budget X-Men, and he tries to argue that it's a good movie. So we'll see how that goes.
No, that's awesome. Everybody loves hot takes, and if you can defend it in like a logical way,
sure,
that's awesome. Because I also like Signs, mostly because I love Joaquin Phoenix for some inexplicable reason. But and the one scene that everybody knows where they see the alien in the Brazil birthday party
every time, man, every time.
Oh my god. Like that's one of those. Ugh.
I can tell you something really quick, that there are two things on this podcast that spur a chat debate. I will not mention the first one because I'm sure someone else will mention it in the second. But apparently M. Night Shyamalan in all his movies apparently has brought on a chat war beyond the belief of whatever. I can't even read half this stuff but damn. So now we know for future we have two things we could talk about. This is the other thing that blows up the chat room. Continue, sir.
Could you imagine if like Nicolas Cage was in an M. Night Shyamalan?
You son of a bitch!
Dude, it's been like 4 weeks. I had to get one in there.
Nick Cage.
Our guest last week accidentally brought it up, and that was fantastic.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know. Did you last year, Ron? Did you see the show that just had, what was it, 30 minutes or so? That was just nonstop us mentioning Nick Cage.
I did. I'm a big Nick Cage fan. I'm more of a treasure protector.
You're in the highlight reel now.
Yeah.
You just said Nick Cage.
Totally just watched the National Treasures and Face Off like the last week, and my goodness. fantastic.
There is what I like to call my wife and I, because we both are from theater, which is how we met. We do a bad accent marathon every so often, where we throw on movies where there are only bad accents. So of course,
put the money in
Con
the
Air.
box.
Nick Cage and Con Air is one of them. You got to watch Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves for Kevin Costner and all of his glory.
He's not even trying.
Daniel Craig in Knives Out.
Oh yeah,
his accent is horrendous.
Yep, good movie though.
Big fan of Braveheart in that, because there's nothing like that William Wallace accent.
You can take your lives, but you'll never take.
Oh man, yeah. Mess want to throw in there Harrison Ford in the submarine film.
Oh god,
What's that?
How about Sean Connery as a Russian subcaptain?
There's nothing better than him being like, "So listen here, I'm Russian," you know.
I'm so Russian right now.
So
you're Bond playing a Russian. It's so anti.
Oh, if you want to talk Bond, how about Pierce Brosnan trying to be English rather than Irish? He just quits halfway through.
It's all good. Movies are still fun to watch. So Ron, we're going to take full advantage of you this week, and we're going to have you jump in, and you're going to add into our chat with our next segment, if you don't mind.
Love it. Let's do it.
Yes, we are going to get back to what we missed last week because we had a really great cast show that night. We're going back to the nerd news. So nerd news. All right, we've got some great topics. I want to start off with, I think it's probably going to be the biggest one that has come out this week, and I think it'll affect a lot of us nerds because we even talked about this a couple of weeks ago, what would happen. The pandemic is now getting in the nerd world. So what had happened is every company or every type of business has had to adjust in one way or another to survive in this pandemic in one way or another. So one company in particular thought that not just one, all these companies have been doing it. One of the biggest industries that have been affected the most has been the movie industry. A lot of movies have been pushed back so far and everything. Well, some companies have said, we're not going to push. We're going to try something. And they've started releasing some of the movies that would have came out. They didn't want to wait. For example, Universal's the big one right now. They released Trolls. Trolls is supposed to come out in the movie theaters, and instead of not put back like all the other companies have, they released it to video on demand, and it pulled in, no joke, $100 million in its first week that it was went out. So it got Universal thinking, hey, maybe we don't need these movie things anymore. We can cut the third-party source and go straight to it, and start making.
That's not exactly what they said.
That's not what they said at all. First of all,
yeah, well, that's what it looks like.
No, it's not. Like. They said we're going to have our premium video on demand while we do releases in theaters too. We're going to capitalize on both aspects.
No, well, that's what I was getting to that.
No, you said that they're going to do it without going back.
No. I said that they're going to start doing it, and then I was going to throw in there that they were going to do it at the same time that they were going to be releasing them in the movie theaters. Now, this is
select films.
What's that?
For select films. They said they would release stuff on PVOD for things when it seemed right.
So in other words, they're big movies like any of the Fast and Furious movies, Trolls. But then if Johnny's film comes out, it's just going to go in the movie theater. So, anyways, bottom line, they're going to release these big movies. They're going to want to release these at the same time they go on the movie theater. AMC was the first company to sit there and go, well, that's not going to work for us. So if you're going to do it that way, because you're going to be cutting our profits, we're not going to show your movies. It sounded like Regal was going to jump in and do it too, but they backed out for the time being, saying they're going to, hopefully they honor the contract in a sense, the unsung contract. What are your guys' thoughts about this move? Do you think this is the start of the hammer of the nail for movie theaters? Beardy, go for it. Jump in.
This is absolutely ridiculous. AMC is just having a tissy fit. They're frowning. They're being, just crying, being little bitches over there. What it comes down to is that Universal wants to try to capitalize on what they have. When we come out of this and they start opening up theaters again, it's going to be the exact same way it was when they started closing them down, where they were doing full closeout movie theaters with only half capacity. the studios aren't going to make their money back when the theaters are going to cap the attendance at half of the theater auditorium. So with that, these studios need to release them at home, so those who don't want to go right away to the movie theaters and still be exposed to possibilities of this and still want to do it at home. They want to be able to get those who can't go to the theater because the theater is already full capacity, even though it's halfway full, and they still want to be able to capture both of those. AMC, they're being ridiculous right now because they're just, they're upset that Universal wants to try to capture as much money back on these blockbuster movies that they put crap tons of money in, that they're not going to get the return on investment from AMC, who's the number one theater in the world. And that's not going to fly. And when it comes down to it, if AMC wants to keep doing this, I'm an A+ list member. So I play my membership. I go every month. I watch all my movies every week. But if they're going to play this game and select who they're not going to be playing, I have no problem going back to Cinemark, even if it's a little bit further drive when it comes down to it. But here's what's going on. Disney took Onward 2 weeks out and put it straight to Disney+. There's no premium video on demand. You have to rent it. You have to pay for it. Disney just said, you know what? We're going to give it to you. Here you go. Just enjoy it. But they're not complaining about that. Given, I guarantee that Disney will do that more so down the line because they're going to get more subscribers to their program than they do going to theaters as well. So they're going to bring more money to them. Why wouldn't they do it? And if AMC is going to cut out Universal, they're going to end up cutting out all these other ones. If they lose Universal and Disney, they're screwed.
Ron, what do you think, sir?
I think this is the direction that the world is going. And I think that it's short-sighted to think that it's anything else. I mean, I would say 20 years ago, there used to be a thing called, a record store that we would buy records from. But in a world where I can watch something in 4K at my house, I mean, I have a 110-inch projection screen at my home. If I can get new movies at my house,
I'm jealous now.
I will pay the $20 to watch it at home as opposed to going and sitting somewhere else. I mean, this is the reality, people. Like, movie theaters they're already only for events. You're already only going to see Avengers at the movie theaters. I'm not going to see Oscar movies at the movie theaters. I'm waiting for them to come out on VOD. So, I mean, this is the reality. This is the way the world is going.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on this a little bit, not last week, but the last time I was here, which, it's the only time that matters. But that, like, I don't like being in a crowded theater. I don't want to wait in line. I don't want to pay like the overpriced popcorn and stuff. If I could just, watch it up, cuddled up in my, on my couch at home. But I think people still do want that experience of going to the theater. But I think theaters are going to like have to step it up a little bit. Like if you go to Cinépolis or Alamo Drafthouse or one of those more premium theaters that give you like serve beer and serve you full dinners and stuff. It's not the best. They could do better. They could also make it cheaper. But it's just like more of an experience, more of an event than just going to the movies. Because, yeah, they're going to lose out. Disney is too big to fail, I think. They're not going to, they released Onward like right away. I also saw Onward at an Alamo Drafthouse. Like it was great. Loved the movie, loved the experience. But if I had to wait like 2 weeks and be like, you know what? Yeah, I'll watch this at home, curled up in bed with my cat. Yeah, I'm going to do that. But Disney, like they have too much money to not, they're like, Because it's not like the best Disney movie ever. It's great. It's a great film. But they also released like Lady and the Tramp and a few others straight to on demand. And they made so much goddamn money from their Disney Plus simply from Mandalorian. Like they're good. I'm not worried about Disney.
I'm the guy that I will go to the movie theaters. I want the experience. And the reason why is because I don't have a 100-inch projector and I don't have cool surround sound. I live in an apartment. But not only that though, I want my kid to have that experience because, I don't want him growing up not experiencing things I got to experience that was cool. That's why I let him. That's why we watch G.I. Joe together. That's why we watch T-Man. That's why we watch Star Wars together. And we go to the movie theaters together because I like him to experience that because there's nothing better than sitting in a big movie theater, seeing this big screen with the right type of sound system and sometimes getting that 3D effect. It's like you're actually in that whole experience with it, which is cool. Now, granted, I'm not going to go see I don't know what else, like you said, Oscar winners. Well, I mean, I don't want to say Oscar winners. Let's just say those ones that cater to the Oscar kind of idea, I guess. So I'm not going to watch those where there's no special effects in the movie theater. But I definitely want to see those movies with special effects like Avengers and everything else. So it does make me kind of nervous in the situation that they're doing, because I kind of see it from both sides. Universal wants to make their money. That makes sense. I totally get that. But at the same time, the movies have been around for how long, and they've always had this agreement that, hey, this is how we want to do it. And of course, things are going to have to change a little bit. But I see it from AMC's point of view saying, hey, if you start doing it that way, you're cutting into our budgets, which means we have to start increasing our prices to counteract. I mean, I think that's what they're trying to kind of figure out there.
No, I want to say it's exactly the opposite of that. I'm totally on Universal's side. Universal needs to make their money if they want to put the money into the productions. They need to be able to release their stuff to the public on their schedule and make their money back. Whereas AMC, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, is already looking at filing for bankruptcy. The theater experience needs to change. There are absolutely movies that we need to experience in the theater. I totally agree with that. But I think that they need to scale back that experience to the things that need to be theater experiences. Big comedies, big sci-fi, stuff that's going to blow your mind and that you need an audience to enjoy. Whereas most other things, I can enjoy perfectly fine on my 50-inch flat screen at home on PVOD. I don't need to go to a theater and pay $57 for popcorn, peanuts, and a soda to enjoy that movie. You know?
On the one side, I'm sorry, don't mean to cut you off, but on the one side too, like I'm sure AMC and Regal and all of them, like, don't they have to pay the
landlords?
Universal? Well, to get
movies
too, like Universal still gets money from AMC and them, so it's like,
well, the way that
enough money.
The problem is the breakdown is like so heavily towards the producers of the movies for the first 4 weeks of release that they really don't make any money on the movie until after week 4. And so the bigger issue, like Marty was saying,
the theaters don't make that money?
The theaters make nothing on a movie the first few weeks. It's like, I think it's like an 80-20 split.
The first 4 weeks, like you're saying, the first 4 weeks is coming strictly off their concessions on those movies. That's why they've gone and added like liquor bars and stuff like that, because the more they sell, that they're actually making money in those movies now.
Yeah, I mean, basically every movie theater, it's like a gas station. Gas stations don't make profit off the gas. They make profit off of me going and buying chips. And that's where most of the money comes from. And that's how movie theaters operate. They're not making that big money on the film. They're making that big money off of the people coming and me buying an ice cream or me buying a Coke. So you guys are like, I think we're all kind of arguing the same point, which I think is interesting, because the reality is the experience does have to get better. The chairs need to be more comfortable. The food needs to be tastier. But the problem is it's not going to be cheaper.
The prices need to be lower. That's my point.
You're going to pay Disneyland prices when you're going to see a movie at the theater. That's just the reality. Like if my wife wants a beer when we go to the theaters, I know it's going to be like a ballpark beer. Like I know what I'm getting into, you know? The popcorn going to be $8 for 50 cents worth of popcorn. Sorry.
And we've seen other places like Movie Pass has come out, and they obviously failed what they were trying to do. But like AMC has their own Movie Pass. It's like $20 a month, and you can see 3 movies every week. Yeah, whether it's digital, whether it's IMAX, whether it's 3D, it doesn't matter. That movie works for any kind of movie production being released. So $20 for what video on demand costs is $20, and for that one movie, where I spend $20 a month, I could watch 12 movies in a month.
Most PVODs that I've seen are like $5 to $7.
Not new releases.
No, all the 1999
PVOD is all $20.
I guess,
yeah, new releases you have to buy, and then you have to wait like 2 weeks before you can rent it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm not spending $20 on popcorn and stuff. I understand that they make their money off of concessions. I don't want to pay that for concessions.
I'm not gonna lie.
Their whole business model needs to change if they want to stay viable.
It's true. It's completely true. The idea of being able to go to a movie like when I was young and in high school or going into college, we'd go to the movies like 3 times a week because you could. And they had the dollar theater, so you could go see like terrible movies at the dollar
73.
theater. I'm not that old now. Like I'm talking like the late 90s, right? But at the same time, it's like I go to the movies now. I have me and my wife, my son. By the time we walk in the door, get popcorn, get drinks, candy, the whole 9, I've spent $70, $60, you know, and that you can't do that 3 times a week. I'm not independently wealthy, you know, so.
I'm not that much older, so like I said, if you want to bring me on once in a while, talk about things my kids messed up on, please let me know, because I got a couple years on you, but not much. But yeah, I agree. But I don't want to also lose it either. I don't want to get to a point where the only thing I do get to watch is movies on demand, because I want to be able to watch Spider-Man 3 or Star Wars, the next saga, whatever it is. I want to see those in the movie theaters, because there's a huge difference between watching it at home and watching it at the movie theater, and taking away all the money you spend sitting in the theater with other people. Well, like I talked about this.
All the money you spend, that's part of the thing. That's part of the argument.
You could totally go to the movie. You could wait. Stop. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you off, because I can go to the movie theaters, watch the movie with my kid, and I don't have to buy popcorn and everything else there. I do not have to. I can watch a movie. Okay, that's your thing. Not everyone's like you. So I'm just saying, I think everyone still wants to experience that theater. And like we've all agreed, they have to change things, but I don't want it being gone. That's plain and simple. I want to see Fast and Furious because it's from Universal in the movie theater versus on demand.
I don't want to see them gone. I think they need to redo their business model. That's all.
But all right, so let's do this. Did you were about to say something in the chat there, sir, before we move on?
Our producer Jack Malice says the food is actually better at Disney. AMC food is like 7-Eleven quality, and I don't go for food. Maybe the popcorn, or wait, no, he said I don't want to pay $15 for 7-Eleven nachos.
It's slightly above 7-Eleven nachos because sometimes you get the jalapenos in a cup.
Sure. So, yeah, and then you get a pocket full of napkins, and you never know what to do with them.
Yeah. So let's move on, because I think we could spend another 2 hours on this topic, and let's go to something a little bit more fun. It's been 46 years since something's come out, Dungeons and Dragons. It's been 46 years. Now, the funny thing about it is it's taken 46 years, but apparently it's at its best year in 2019 going into 2020. Just to read off some of these stats really quick. Now, first of all, before I do this, how many people on this cast, by a show of hands or whatever, has played Dungeons and Dragons? Marty, is your hand up?
No, I was busy playing for sports in high school, so I didn't have time.
Well, sorry, I was a Universal. I did it all. Thank you very much, buddy.
I only played it as an adult. I never played it in high school.
Yeah, same here.
No, now, that being said, ever since Stranger Things and since finishing Community, it's been an itch to be playing. Because after Community, I was like, son of a bitch, I want to play so bad.
Well, I will tell you, Marty, that my some of my oldest friends, due to this pandemic, we played Star Wars RPG. There was a West End Games version in the 90s that came out that I have literally tons and tons of these books. So it's like literally sitting on my desk right now because I'm DMing. So
I remember that game.
Yeah. So this is taking us in the way back machine here. So if I wasn't with you guys tonight, this is what I would be doing. But we got together
our producer Jack just had an orgasm.
We got together after 20 years of not having to play together with this role-playing group and started playing again. And I will tell you that as a bunch of 40-year-old men, it's probably the most fun I've had in a long time. Like it's a good way to goof off. We're playing a group of smugglers flying the ship COVID-19 across the galaxy, fighting against the Empire. And you know what? Although it was, I as well played sports ball growing up all the way through college. It was one of those things for me where once I discovered the ability to use my imagination with my friends, it became a nice outlet, you know? So
I can tell you right now, I'm not buying any of the spices on your smuggle run, dude. Not on that COVID-19. Nope, not gonna get it.
Well, they've got quite a collection of characters, including their sex droid TT69. So it's
was it named by a high schooler?
Yes, it was.
The gentleman that's running that is our youngest member, and he's in college. So yeah.
Silicone droid, I love it. All right, so as we get into this, let me throw these stats out. They're quite astronomical. So for the last 6 years, D&D has seen consecutive growth, which is a good thing. This is kind of all leading up. There was 17.5 billion media impressions just in 2019 alone, just for Dungeons and Dragons. 17.5 billion. Sales of the intro.
real quick, I don't know what media impressions means. Is it like mentions?
I think it's everything. Mentions,
Yeah.
posts,
Look up,
hashtags,
everything.
everything.
Like
Just
shares,
it's omnipresent at this point.
Right.
Yes,
Anything that's linked to that is
Even like a view on a Twitter, on a tweet that even has a mention, that's an impression.
Yep. All right, so we got 17.5 billion media impressions. The sales of all their intro boxes. So usually if you're getting into Dungeons & Dragons, Warhammer, Kill Team, stuff like I've been doing, they have an intro kit to start off with that gives you a book and some tokens and dice and all the starting stuff. That's gone up over 300% year over year. There's 4.3 billion viewers that have watched some type of D&D content.
Wow.
2 million watched D&D Live 2019. So they had an event last year, and over 2 million people watched the live D&D event. And let's see.
Mention real quick that we have some of that.
Yeah. That's right.
We actually have a Malice Cast D&D actual play podcast, which Elle is on, and Elle can tell you about that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, tell me all about it.
That was going to be the shameless plug I was going to ask her to do here just a second after I was doing my last step. But go ahead,
Thank you, Ken. I will shamelessly plug this. Yes, Malice Cast actual play. It's called the Devecna Code. It's myself, Jack Malice, Mrs. Malice, my husband David, Matt, and Aaron Newport Kid. We're all playing it every Sunday. Episode 3 just got uploaded today, I believe, and yeah. No, it's there have been 3 or 4 bio episodes as well. Like there's 3 up right now. We are waiting for the other players to actually
record their bios.
Yes, waiting on that. No, it's a good time. But take it away if you're.
No, thank you for plugging that early. Thank you. And in sales in Europe have increased 65% year over year. So in other words, this is the time to be in Dungeons and Dragons. Marty, Bearded Master, you're going to be joining, it sounds like now, huh?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, I've been wanting to, and like everything I've literally watched episodes. I watched Community last week. Then I watched an episode of Big Bang Theory had it on. And then I watched last week's Tacoma FD. They were playing Dungeons and Dragons on there with Joe Pantoliano on there. It's literally everywhere. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like, son of a bitch, man. If I had some friends around here and it's close by, I want to play right now.
I bet you they got some wrestling one we can find.
Well, dude, no joke. Xavier Woods, they get wrestlers together and they do a cast. AJ Styles. Even they've done past like AJ Lee and like CM Punk and all them. They've done live events where they've shown all them playing and rotate them out.
No. Do they have like a actual role playing wrestling game?
Oh, that's
roll the dice, roll a 6 between 8, and I turn. I do a monkey flip.
Can we cut that from this podcast? Because I want to make my millions off that. I'll cut y'all a piece of the pie.
Marty, if you're going to play for the first time, let me encourage you to play the Bard. The Bard is the most fun character. I'm currently playing a Bard, Bernard Dard the Bard, with my group that I'm playing with. I sit around and I get drunk all night long, and I make up dirty limericks and poetry about everybody in the party, which is kind of fun. And my DM gives me bonus points or bonus XP for every different type of poetry that I can come up with. So I did a slam poetry the other night where I was like, the men in our group, so it's a good time had by all.
Now I want to watch So I Married an Axe Murderer.
There you go. There you go.
She was a thief. She stole my cat.
Oh, Jesus, man. Oh, my God. I think that's the 3rd week in a row we've actually talked about that movie now.
Oh, that movie's brilliant.
Yes, I agree. 110%.
Hot take, the best Mike Myers movie.
Ooh.
Not
better than Wayne's World, the first one. Sorry.
Not better than Austin Powers, the first one.
No, better than Austin Powers.
No.
Wait, hold on. How are you going to put all of those ahead of the Love Guru?
I do actually.
Wow.
Actually, I should do an in defense of the Love Guru because I actually like that movie. So.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I can't stand Love Guru. I apologize for even bringing it up. And first of all, the Shrek series, come on.
I don't count that as a Mike Myers movie.
It's a Mike Myers.
It's a Mike Myers movie. It's just not an original Mike Myers movie.
It's a Pixar movie. That's different.
Either way, it's definitely Wayne's World is his #1 movie. Definitely by all.
Wait. Humble brag. The one time I worked the red carpet at the Oscars, was it last year? That was the only celebrity I got to interview was Mike Myers. And I tried to get him away from my camera so I could talk to Jason Momoa. And then my supervisor wanted to talk to Mike Myers more. So I didn't get to talk to Jason.
Oh, you didn't want to talk to Jason. You wanted to actually touch Jason.
Oh, I wanted to climb him like a tree, man. But Mike Myers, hey.
Oh, yeah. All right. We got one more nerd news topic to talk about tonight. We'll touch into the video games, which I believe this is actually going to be one of the most anticipated video games of this channel. Cyberpunk 2077 was, I guess it was a mess up or something in Brazil. So what had happened is Brazil had given a rating and everything of it and kind of did like a review of it, but they weren't supposed to actually publish that, and they did. And they immediately took it right back off, but not before someone was able to post it on Reddit. And it pretty much made my idea of Cyberpunk 2077 so much more. Because when they announced it, the big thing was last year, it was Keanu. Keanu's in there. And we were all stoked just about that. But now apparently the game is not only going to be just Keanu, but this damn thing is going to be nearly, R17 with so much blood, so much
X-rated,
so much sex, so much graphic sex. I mean, there's going to be a lot. There was a list. I can't even remember. It was that long. And that's just the screen. So it went past my, I had to go down the screen a little bit of everything that was going to be in it. And it sounds like I mentioned, this is not going to be the game I grew up on, since my generation, right? We were sitting in front of the Atari starting everything up.
There's not much you can do with Pong.
Wanted.
Pong is a pretty basic game. You don't got much above that.
Yeah. But this is the game we wanted back then.
The article said that this game has motion capture sex scenes from first person. And the 18+ rating in Brazil equates to the adults only rating in the US, which means that might be graphically like insertion. I'm sure they're going to edit it down for the US to get it to MA, because otherwise they're not selling it.
So I just actually read an article earlier today that kind of followed up on, because in the original article, they talked about Australia and their rating system, and Australia did rate it R18+. So apparently that's the same. I guess the other game that they kind of compared it to was We Happy Few, where it was briefly banned, but then they're like, yeah, okay, it's 18+. So it's 18+ in Australia. What it's going to be here, honestly, I've never seen an adults only rated game ever. I couldn't even tell you a title. I remember my brothers making a PowerPoint when they were like 12 to convince my parents to get them to buy Halo for them. So, what that means for Cyberpunk, no clue for us, but they did get a sigh of relief from Australia with the rating for that.
To kind of go on that, last time I looked, it was I feel like last time I read was Australia also has much higher and stringent ratings on video games compared to what they do out here. But when you go back to
Brazil, though,
what's that?
The rating we saw was from Brazil.
No, I know. She just mentioned Australia, so I was just going off of that.
Yeah, in the original article, yeah.
Yeah, and if Brazil's calling this 18 over, holy crap. But it just goes back to when we were younger. The first game I remember was oh no, this game is MA. This is beyond ridiculous. It's lucky it got an MA only. It was San Andreas, and that game was ridiculous. And it was, and what this is supposed to do. I mean, for me, I think this game's gonna be absolutely fantastic. It's gonna be weird and crazy, but I think it's gonna be fantastic.
Oh, I'm all in.
Ron, do you dabble in the video games, sir?
Oh, I'm literally, I hate to be honest, but I'm sitting here playing a game while we're talking because I'm playing Civ 5. So it's, so
Wow.
I am. I'm really hardcore into it. I have been for as long as I can remember. I mean, I had a Counter-Strike clan as long as I could remember. And it was, I mean, for me, this game looks amazing. I don't know that I need to watch Keanu Reeves have sex with another thing in Cyberpunk, but I definitely am excited about this game. I just think as I get older, I don't have the time commitment for a game of that magnitude. About the only thing I put the time in for like that anymore is a Bethesda game. Like I'm one of the few people that still played Fallout 76 and enjoyed it.
I'm sorry, did you pronounce Bethesda?
I'm sorry, did I mispronounce Bethesda?
Did you really mention 76? Come on.
I still play. It's it's one of the best open world maps in a game that I've ever played.
Bullshit. Sorry.
The mechanics are so garbage.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't care. I enjoy the world. The world's fun. I mean, look, I enjoyed Last of Us. I enjoyed
I can't wait for Last of Us 2.
The game that's never coming out. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm totally a gamer. I think Cyberpunk looks amazing. I don't, I think it's going to be like Crisis though, where it's going to be when that first came out, where you're going to need an Uber rig to run it, and I don't know who owns that rig. So, but maybe on a next gen console.
Yeah, isn't it going to be PS5? It's going to be PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox X. Like, it's going to be late gen console stuff, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. It would have to be, Yeah.
So the two questions I have for Cyberpunk now is, first of all, is it going to be VR? Because if it's going to be VR, sales are going to go up tremendously now. Can you imagine that game VR?
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hey, you just there's going to be a scene where you have to like cut somebody's head off,
and you look down and it's your arm that's disembodying into a blade, and you chop them.
The blood's just dripping off. Yeah, I can't remember the second question, but I'm excited about that game now.
No, I can't wait for haptic suits.
Okay, so we're getting close. Let's move on to final topics of the night. Somebody's got to talk about it.
We need to talk.
You talking to me?
Oh my God! Who told you?
Have you told anyone else about this?
What you talking about?
Look who's talking.
The one I wanted to talk about, only because, to be perfectly frank, since the pandemic started, these guys have stepped in and done so much stuff for us to keep us sane that I want to talk about them again. NASA is in our nerd news again because they were able to create a ventilator. They call it the Vital Ventilator Intervention Technology, accessible locally. They pretty much designed a ventilator for any type of patient with COVID-19 in 37 days. The same people that brought you the microwave, or the moon with a slide ruler and a compass, and eventually Mars, has now brought us a ventilator in 37 days that they're going to be able to get produced and everything.
A fewer parts, easily produced, easily just distributed ventilator in 37 days. These people are brilliant.
Yeah, the article we were looking at had a picture of them boxing the prototype, get ready to ship it to get it mass produced. What else does NASA need to do to show that they need to make that money again?
Yeah.
El, did you read it?
Real quick. I know people that hate NASA and they think space exploration is stupid, and they're like, what have they ever done? They gave us Tang and they built us weird pens when we could have used pencils, which is a fallacy, by the way. But I love the fact that they have the best engineers in the world. They have people that are just building incredible shit that we need every day, and they can do it quickly and they can mass produce it. In that article, they said, hey, we're in the business of building space shuttles, but you know what? We've got great engineers and we can do other stuff really well too.
El, did you read the article?
I did. I watched the video that was attached to it. It was really good, and kind of piggybacking on what IC said. they're like, yeah, we can do this. Like, we basically have an obligation to, like, it's our duty to, because we have the skills and the, you know, wherewithal to be able to do this to help people. And they're like, yeah, why wouldn't we? Which is great, which is amazing. Like, that's kind of the selflessness I think everybody kind of needs right now, especially in these like really shitty times, which is great. Like, it's definitely uplifting and definitely something we all need.
They need to take that money from the Space Force and give it back to NASA, because they're earning every freaking dollar right now. Like, I've never been happier to see NASA in the media the way it have been in the last 2 months, let alone years. Ron, did you get to read that article, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I got to check it out, and I mean, I am not surprised that the smartest minds in the world essentially were able to put together something in less than 30 days. You know, it's like Apollo 13 for the pandemic. I love it, you know. So
Bearded, you're over there pondering in some kind of thought. Like, I saw the snapshot, you're like this, just thinking. Were you part of the group, sir? Did you help invent the ventilator?
I was told I can neither confirm nor deny that answer in response. But it's fantastic, dude. It's freaking NASA, man. Like they built the best stuff that's out there. I mean, from space items and mattresses and, you know, whatever. They just need one of these medical people to say, yes, we will produce these for you immediately. That's what's ridiculous, is that they've shown, hey, we can get this done and give it to you. Somebody needs to make this into mass capacity. And that's what's going to take. And the fact that they can get this expedited to make it go quickly so they can get the approval on it all, that's what's fantastic. And the question is, if they can do that, why can't they expedite other shit and get other stuff taken care of that's going to benefit us as well?
Well, their budget was stripped. Yeah.
So
not just NASA. It's like everybody, anything else. Like, we talk about vaccines and stuff like that. Like, the vaccines are saying 18 to 24 months. Well, I'm sure they can.
That's for medical protocols.
Well, I know, but there's other stuff that they're making and doing to help with this stuff, and they can't get expedited approval to make this happen.
That's not an arguable thing. That's medical protocol.
I'm not talking. I said not just vaccines. I said other things also.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, kudos to NASA. Thank you so much for allowing us to talk yet again about you, because, quite frankly, we need to. We need more NASA in our life. We do.
Yeah, I love the fact. Real quick, I love the fact that they're able to do these kind of things, and then they can probably take what they've done here and apply it to future space technology stuff. Like, they never knew they were going to be making ventilators, but maybe at some point that's going to relate to how we get to Mars quicker. We don't know. Like, all the random things that we can make them research, that can branch out into other things that will work incredibly well.
They can turn it into those suits that turn your pee into water, like in Dune.
Okay. First of all, you guys got to get your priorities straight. Remember, they're trying to take 3-year-old macaroni and cheese and making it 5-year. Okay. Until that happens, nothing else is going on. All right. You totally missed that one, IC, because we talked about it. Thank you very much. Punk. All right. So the last thing we get to do tonight is, Ron, you are our guest. And anytime we have a guest, we like to pick your brain, and we're going to ask you some questions. Without telling you what the questions are, we're going to ask them to you now, and you got to go right off the spot and answer them just like that. We are going to test.
Oh, great. What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing at all. We're testing your nerd level, sir. All right. I think it's high, but we're going to have to test it. We'll see. All right, so here you go, sir. The top, the 5 questions we ask. First one, your favorite movie?
Oh, I mean, of all times, the Empire Strikes Back.
There you go. By the way, just to go on that, I could relate with your son, because up until a certain point, episode 5 wasn't my favorite up until I got to a certain age.
From the time I was 3.
I got you by 3 years too, I think, or 5. I don't know. Anyways, all right. Next one. Favorite book?
Oh, The Dark Tower as a series by Stephen King. But my favorite one of the series being the third one, The Wastelands. So
you're definitely high on the geek level so far, sir. Next one. Favorite television show?
Ooh, I mean, I'd have to say Community. Like, that's the one I've watched the most, followed by The Simpsons. So,
all right, and here we go. Next one. Now, you can be biased, but I'm hoping that you can possibly skirt your personal issues on this one. Go with all time, kind of like, favorite superhero or comic book character.
I will not name my own because that seems a little cheesy. Once again, Grace by IB Comics. Go to ibcomics.com. You can pick it up there.
I'm going to let you plug that again in a second. Don't worry. You're going to plug
don't worry about it. I love plugging stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's another podcast, sir. Thank you.
Great thing.
I would say I will show this as we sit here. Right here. This is my long boxes of comics right there. And what you'll see is these are two Fantastic Fours right here. And Fantastic Four would be my favorite superhero, as I am complete from number 23 and up. So
nice.
What are you missing?
Just the hand
through 22.
Would it be all of Fantastic Four complete 1 through? My highest number I have is number 10. So I don't have $60,000 lying around for number 1. So
slacker. You quit putting it in your hill and actually
what I'm really hoping is that the world ends and I could go and raid some houses, Fallout style, and I'll come across a Fantastic Four number 1 just lying about, So
you're going to do it Last of Us style and just get a couple of gears and some duct tape.
There you go.
All right, the last question, sir. Your favorite video game?
Ever or currently?
Ever.
Ooh, I'm old. I think the game that gets me the most, that I've had the most fun with, and I've literally just loaded it up onto my RetroPie MAME arcade emulator that I stuck into an arcade 1-up Street Fighter 2 cab, is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Because there's nothing more fun than whipping thuggy guards and having them fall down ladders. So,
oh my god,
standing ovation.
I was a kid.
Yeah, that followed very closely by Street Fighter 2. So,
oh my gosh, dude, that's almost like Empire Strike Back, Star Wars, Atari.
Oh, that's also great games. And right next to my modded cabinet, right next to it, I have my Star Wars arcade cabinet, my arcade 1-up, that I play the Star Wars with the green graphics.
Oh, yeah,
I played that game quite a bit. So
I could say I spent many of years at Disneyland playing that in the arcade. Anyways, all right, dude, you are definitely high nerd level, sir. So
I would like to think so.
Yeah, I mean, Nerdlife Crisis
actually host, Nerdlife Crisis.
This is true. I have been to San Diego Comic-Con. This will be the first year I have not been since 1995. So,
Jesus, I've only been twice.
Yeah, this is going to be a weird year for me. All of my nerddom is put on a shelf, literally. Yeah,
Nerdlife Crisis.
I am crossing my fingers that Celebration doesn't get canceled because I bought the tickets literally the day they came out for my kid.
I don't
crossing my fingers. Don't make me cry, Disney. All right, hey, guys, we had a wonderful cast. That's it. We've got our cast right there. Now this is the time where we're gonna be finishing off, where we're gonna be telling everyone we can follow. I'm gonna save you for last, Ron, because I want you to plug away as you can.
I got a lot.
Yeah. Just remember, not that channel plugging, but just your shows, okay? L, actually, before I go to L, thank you, Malice Corp, for allowing us to do this show tonight. We really appreciate you every week. We've been together for 4 years, finishing up the 4th year. It's almost like we're married now at this point. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to host, and make sure as you're watching us and everything, and on oh my God, Twitch right now. Make sure that you follow us. Tell your friends about us. 8 p.m. every Friday night, Pacific Daylight Time. All right. Follow every Friday night. You can also check us out on YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, everything else. You can listen to a podcast. We're on it. You can listen, like us, share us, give us reviews, help us out. Let's do our thing. We're trying to grow this podcast to be something special. So, L, where can all these fine followers follow you?
Oh man. So shameless plug again for the Malice Cast actual play. Like I said, episode 3 is up right now on Stitcher. Any other platform Malice Cast is on. Yeah, no, thanks, fellas. Thanks for having me again.
You have to actually search for the Devekna cast, right?
It's if you type in Malice Cast actual play, you'll find it. It's the only actual play we got.
I see. Follow you, sir.
At IC0 on Twitter, Instagram, and PlayStation Plus.
A bearded master, sir. It was wonderful having you again this week. I love the fire. Where can we follow you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at abeardedmaster. You can also find me on Instagram at or boot to the face _ and on Twitter boot to the face. Come if you want to talk wrestling or anything like that. That's where you can find me at all times.
Awesome. Now to our Twitch follower, our friends in the chat room today. Thank you, Ruru2. Thank you for Mrs. Malice, Polyfuse, Kind and Fodder 691, Jack Mouse, our producer. Thank you very much for tuning in there. I also saw Ruru2's in there, and who else did I miss there? Oh, HGJZ Grok, I believe it is. He did show up on my screen. I was looking at HGZ Grok. There you go. The beverage is kicking in, which is awesome. It's nice. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for showing up. If you're not watching this live, you're missing a hell of a chat because, man, there was so much stuff going. I couldn't even go there. No, finally, last but not least, outside of me, you can follow me at Masonic Vader 71 on Twitter and Masonic Vader. I get them confused because then there's PlayStation, which is just Masonic Vader because apparently Masonic Vader was always taken on Twitter. Anyways, Ron, where can you go ahead? This is where we plug away, sir. Do your thing, sir.
Yeah, man. I mean, for anybody that's enjoyed listening to me here today, you can hear me every weekish on. We're not as regular as you guys, mostly just because we're busy, but we've been more regular recently. Right. So you can find us on Facebook at Facebook/Nerdlife Crisis. If you just do a Google search on the Nerdlife Crisis Network, you'll come across that. You can also follow us at Nerdlife Crisis on the Insta. It's a brand new page that we've started. That we really don't push the Insta big, but we do push it big for the comic book company, and you can find us there at IB Comics. So give us a follow there. And Twitter, once again, I'm old, so the internets are not my purview. But I think we are up to 38 followers on our Twitter account that I never post on.
Let's fix that, folks.
I'm pretty excited about that. But no, I mean, we do the Facebook page and the Insta with the IB Comics is where most of our people come through. We got about 2,600 people that follow us on the Facebook page, and about 1,000 different people that follow us on the IB Comics page.
So you're plugging and pushing, apparently. This is definitely going in the wrong direction, sir.
I love
That's what
it.
she said.
What are you talking about?
Depends on what you're into.
Speaking of that, we got to wrap this up because my wife is waiting for me.
All right. Well, guys,
so well played.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you. We'll see you next week, 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time next week, same channel. You guys have a wonderful night. Stay nerdy.
Woo!
Carry on.